All right, hi everybody. Todd and Phil here. Real quick, this is Ask Anything Thursdays. This is for informational purposes only. Nothing should indicate that an attorney-client privilege has been created or that relationship. And if you're okay with that, let's go. Today, Phil, what are we talking about?
Today, we are talking about getting to profit. So the importance of the levers of knowing your hourly billing and making that line up with the services we provide per lawyer. Knowing the hours that our firm commits to as our metrics for the number of hours per week we bill, doing that consistently for 50 weeks to get to ourselves to 100% transfer. So billing and transfer, other levers. And we want to show you just by a variance of 10%, how that changes how the money flows through the company. So if we were 90% billing and we fell short on 90% transfer, what would that do to our numbers? So we're not really trying to rebuild the whole finances of the firm in a short conversation, but just to show you, how does the machine work if we're efficiently billing, efficiently transferring, and paying attention to our expenses and what falls out. So we're going to show you what it looks like at 100%, then we'll give you an example of 90%. Once we move off profit, we want to come over here and talk about the learning path to excellence. So in every single role, last week we talked about a role, then we talked about priorities, then we talked about, delivering on those priorities, hitting our metrics and having goals and metrics. Well, in order to do that, in order to get great at our jobs, in order to commit to creating profit, there's a learning path to getting excellent. And it serves all key stakeholders of the business, whether it's a client, a peer, an owner, a partner. If you had a supply chain in your business, or a manufacturer in your business, those are stakeholders. But in law, we have clients, we have our own peers, we have our owners, we have partners. All right? So how do we get to be great inside of that? What's work look like? Well, we'll describe what this little crazy looking thing looks like to you later. So we'll get to that as well. Great. So profit-wise, let's talk with just a general, easy, simplified thought on 100% billing, 100% transfer. I have a lawyer at $400 an hour, they bill. Our metric is 30 hours a week.
Yep.
At Barnum Law, right? We have 50 weeks, so that's $1,500 a year on those hours. So if I bill at my rate, 400 times 30 times 50 weeks, I bring in $600,000 in billing revenue as a lawyer. I'm going to estimate the cost of this lawyer all in $250,000. That's going to happen no matter what. They are the machine, they are the generator, they are the value. So we're going to take them out of there first, and we're going to get to $350,000. In our model, to get to profit, to get to a nice, healthy place where the business is growing and it has money that we contain and use for growth, we set a 20% growth profit contribution margin. So just call that net profit, 20%. A lot of private equity thinks that way. In other industries, we think that way here. If your target was 25, just adjust your numbers. I'm going to skip through these expenses, get to my contribution margin first, and then back into my expenses, and Todd and I will have a conversation about what that can look like.
Cool.
All right, so if I take my 20% gross margin off that $600,000, I want to make sure I drop out $120. So now when I reverse the $350 that came out of here, pulling out my $120, we have $230,000 to work with to run this business efficiently. All right?
Okay.
Now, when we look at this, in today's age where we're trying to also create efficiencies through technology, efficiencies through work processes, and efficiencies through AI, this is our opportunity, this section right there.
So if you can keep your costs down, then your contribution margin increases too.
Right, so we have an opportunity to win that box.
Yep.
Right, so if we can win that box, we can add to that contribution margin. But I like the idea of pulling your contribution out first, working backwards to those expenses and seeing if you can make that business work inside of that box.
I like that.
Is that fair?
Yeah.
Now,
100% billing and transfer is interesting.
That's interesting. So what Todd is challenging is, hey, what happens if we don't have 100% billing and transferring? That's a nice, healthy ecosystem right there. But what happens if it drops by just 10%? All right, so we take the 600,000 and we go at 90%. This number becomes 540,000. I take out my lawyer's fees because they're the prize, right?
230, right?
So then I get, is that 10? 310.
310. Well, that's going to be...
Sorry about the math in front of you guys. Now, the contribution margin on that is $108,000 because 20% of 540 now, my contribution is 108. Now I want to work back and say what's left in the middle for us to run our business to make sure that we've gotten our contribution margin. And the difference there we're talking about is $202,000. So immediately we see a squeeze in the middle of from 230 down to 202, 28 grand. I have to be able to pull out. I don't get to keep it now because this 90% billing got me all the way down there. Yep. Now, listen, if we go one step further on 90% transfer, well, my 540 moves over here. So at a 90% transfer, so I create an inefficiency in this lever, right? Now, 90% of that gets me to 480,000, right? I take out my 250.
230.
Yep. No, 250 for my lawyer. Oh, right. And I'm at thank you for this. I'm at 230, as Todd said. My 20% contribution margin gets me at 96,000. So in the middle here, I'm looking at 136,000. I have to get my business to work for 136,000 in there. I got paralegals, I got CAs, I've got non-billing managing partners. I've got a lot of business to run. So just a small, and this is what we're going to talk about, 10% decrease affects cash flows. It affects my contribution margin. I'm profiting down at $96,000, right? Yeah. It drops off. And I've squeezed out from being able to run a business with $230,000 in costs all the way down to $136,000. I've squeezed out the ability I might start moving over here into affecting culture. I might be over here overworking burnout. Maybe not. I'm going to pause there for a second.
Yep.
The business we like all of you to run and the business we try to run, when we drop this number, if we could drop this number down to this number with efficiencies without burnout.
That's what I was just thinking.
Okay, now our contribution market leaps. Pew.
Right.
So we'd rather get from here to here, not because we're failing to bill at 100% and failing to transfer at 100%, but creating efficiencies
that allows, in the event that happens,
that doesn't kill us. And the workflows fit and the burnouts decreased. The profit drops further. And one of the things we do in our firm is if the firm's winning, you're winning. Our clients get more, our peers get more, right? So the business feeds everybody.
Yep.
So I'm going to pause right there because I've been talking for a while.
No, that's an interesting way of looking at it. The way that I have looked at it in the past is I don't even look at the contribution margin. What I'm looking at straight off the bat is just 80%, right? 100%. So if I can do 100%, so if we're at 600,000, right? If we're at 600,000, and if I'm at 20% transfer, that's going to be times 0.20.
480.
480. And then I'm saying minus 250 for a salary, and I'm at 230. Right?
Yep.
So we've already been to 230 before, right? We've had these numbers before. What Phil's looking at is his actual contribution margin.
And if you use all 230, you're left nothing for the firm. So
that's it. So right off the bat, if that's our covering costs for just ops, right? That person is only covering expenses. There's no profit.
Have you been in the position, Todd, where you have worked this system beautifully? The customer's winning. Your lawyers are lawyering the right way. They're at the top of their game. Everybody feels like they're at capacity or towards capacity. Everyone's working hard, and all of a sudden you see that there's no profit.
And it all comes down to this number here, right? So if we have a number that is based on 100%, and we don't hit that 100% every single time that we don't hit that number, and it drops 10% or 20%, this is at 20%, there's no profits. That's it. So if you're transferring 80%, that's just a break-even business. So you've got to be at 90 plus.
And we've all been there. We have run this and allowed inefficiencies, or we get too busy to communicate, give feedback, meet as a group, understand how this affects us. Put in a process where we're communicating shortfalls and the results of shortfalls. We've been there. We get busy. But what we're trying to point out is when you're on a treadmill and you're running, but you don't feel like you're getting anywhere, take a deep breath. Let's get the numbers right. Let's get our processes right. And let's have conversations with our lawyers to understand that a healthy culture is a culture of execution. And a healthy culture doesn't make us completely panic when we don't hit our numbers. No. We have conversations. What's going on? How's our intakes? Are we at capacity? Are we not at capacity? Was there a vacation possibly in the middle of this? We're all human beings. We could figure out what's happening on the field.
Yeah.
And then, but we also want to be able to point out what's happening as far as effort goes. If we're falling short, we need to raise our hand, communicate it, and we can't hide that we might come short because there's things we can do.
Well, and there's two areas, right, when you're talking about sales and performance, right? So the first one is intakes, right? We want to get these numbers going up, right? That's what you just want to be, more people you can serve, more people that can get the benefit of us representing them, right?
Yep.
And then there's performance. And so there's a performance piece that's going to be in the case, that's client first, right? And then for the lawyer and actually transferring money, right? So if we're at 80% performance, 90, 100, all of those things, we want to be looking at sales and performance. What are we doing in terms of the work that we actually did? Are we billing and receiving money for the service that we provided, right?
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. That's just doing the work, like taking care of the firm because the firm takes care of the clients, right? So if we're looking at those two things and you're always looking to switch up and get better in certain areas, like we always look at, there's one is going to be intakes. How can we get that seamless processes, really good communication, being there for the client? And then are we in the business of the business? Are we taking care of the actually transferring for the work that we actually did, right?
That's it.
And if we're regularly at 80% of transfers and a lot of people are at 80%, then what does that tell you? That tells you that you don't have enough cases for the people that you have right now. So you've got to get more dialed in, increase the intakes if you can, and if not, make sure that you're really efficient in how you bill. There's always opportunities for growth.
That's right. That's the business taking responsibility for not giving enough order flow, call it, right? So the intakes, if it's ours, we're not grabbing enough cases, we're not filling out the capacity of our lawyers, we understand, we raise our hand and say, we're part of this, right? And that's if we have a system where intake, we're 100% reliant on inbound intake sales. Another system is the outbound sales, where our lawyers are out in the community. Their reputations, the way they do things draws people in. Their communities, their connections draw people in.
And people connect with the why, right? When you're out there, talk about why you're doing something. People want to, they'll make excuses for connecting with someone. If their why's aligned, they'll make what and their how aligned too.
Yep,
they'll make it work.
So again, I think there's a lot of levers in here. We're just saying, let's pay attention to them. Let's all take responsibility for what portion of this we can improve so that we are getting to efficiencies.
Yeah.
And whatever inefficiency shows up, we don't panic as a business. Our culture is we understand we make good plays and neutral plays and great plays. But our culture is, hey, let's stop it quickly. Let's have the conversation. Let's call a timeout. Let's communicate the offense, the defense, the team play, and get back on the field.
100%. And it makes sense, right? And you also have to know it's the firm's responsibility to let people know what the rules are, right? What the game that you're playing, what are the rules? Well, the rules are that you have to ask if you need work, you have to raise your hand and say, hey, I don't have enough work. If you do that, then you've done your job, right?
That's it. I think being part of the solutions, not identifying the acceptable excuse why I felt short.
Yep.
One reason is it would be acceptable to say I don't have enough cases. What
Yep.
we're saying is what's not acceptable is saying I can see that I'm not going to have enough cases in this time frame and communicating.
That's right. You got to communicate and say that there's an issue, right?
Yep.
It's just like the law. Notice an opportunity to be heard, right? So give people notice that you have issues. Tell them, give solutions is an ideal way to say, hey, I think that this might work better, or I can get out in the community more. Or, you know what? We're just not bringing enough cases. We have too many lawyers or too many team members to provide service at this level, right? So at that point, you have to look and say, all right, where can we get more streamlined? Are we top heavy? Do you have to make changes?
Right.
That's just
There's only two ways to solve that, right? More clients coming in.
Yep.
Or less lawyers. I hate to be cold about that aspect, but again, that's why it's so important and why we put so much focus on those intakes and also inbound, going outbound for sales and inbound for sales really insulates us from having to make some of those difficult decisions.
100%. And I think at the end of the day, when you're looking at everything, control the controllables. What can you control? The way that you communicate, the effort that you put in, the accurate billing, timely billing. Don't be the person that's waiting till the end of the week to put all your time in. You know how much time gets lost? Or the possibility that you might be billing too much because you misremembered, right? You can't be doing that. So we want it to be part of an efficient stream, an efficient system where you are, part of the culture is we provide excellent work and we're paid for our work. There's nothing wrong with that.
That's right.
And as long as you withdraw on cases when people don't pay over a certain period of time, you don't give up on people, right? But you do protect the environment and protect the system and protect the business and make sure that there aren't all these cases that are always in the red, right? There's time and place for things to be in the red, for clients to owe money. There might be slow pay or things like that. At the end of the day, you've got to minimize those as much as possible and then prioritize where you're going to do pro bono work.
Man, I learned this lesson the hard way in the beginning when in my old business. I had a sporting goods retail business, and I had a team sales portion where we would invoice our clients, right? So you could create accounts receivable. You could give them some terms. But what I found was, and what I learned was, if we give them too many terms, but if we allow it to be too lax, we invoice them late. They've got their helmets, they've got their equipment, they got their jerseys, the season is over.
Service has been provided.
Right? And the season's over, and I waited, and I thought that I was doing them a favor, giving them 3 months to pay their bill. Well, at the end of it, they've budgeted what they've spent. They've forgotten what they're going to owe me. And I really mishandled my own client. They happily paid me in the end. But that came off as sloppy customer service, right? And it came off as I had to take responsibility for putting them in the position of maybe miscalculating their own books because I didn't bill an invoice immediately when they were happy to pay me.
100%. I mean, that's what you're going to see nowadays too, as AI permeates the market a little bit. You've got to be able to get in systems and processes that are automated so they don't have those issues, right? Or you bring the human element in after you communicate with a client, and then once you have a repayment terms, then you're implementing your systems and processes so that they're reminded.
Yes, that's right. There's nothing worse than, hey, I need this one thing from you, but I need to pay you. And for them, if they ever got in the position where they read that as a quid pro quo, one for the other, that's not what you're doing, but it can feel like that. Another reason why it's just super important to just be timely. They respect that. They're budgeting for our services as well. So again, I know it feels capitalistic, but truly it is like you caring about the customer.
Well, you have to. And to care about the customer, you have to care about your people. It's all interrelated. You can just focus on the service to the client. And if the process for the lawyers or the paralegals or the legal assistants isn't one that's healthy, right, then it can't help but impact the client.
Right, that's right. We talked about this a couple sessions ago, right? Create a healthy environment so that the people get to, in your ecosystem, all key stakeholders get to live in a healthy environment, right? And that includes those clients. They will feel the benefits of you being healthy.
No, that's 100%. That's good stuff.
That's
all right,
great.
man. All right, so if we're looking at, so this really comes down to, we're really talking about the same thing almost when we're talking about over here, right? Some of the things like culture, team, processes, those things.
Let me explain that so that you can grab that and talk law specifically, which would be helpful to them and definitely always helpful to me. I like to look at work like it's a filter. So these outside lines are non-negotiables or where I don't work. So in law, I'm a lawyer. I work at a firm. That's awesome. Inside of good work at this firm is what I put in my filter. So I'll put in my excellence in my own law process. How I do my job for a client, right? Building a nice culture. If I can live in a nice culture, at work, parts of good work would be I'm contributing to that culture being positive, forwarding, and good for all stakeholders, right? And team, how do I work with my team? How do I work with paralegals? How do I work with my managing partners? How do I, right? So how do I work with my team? Process, am I paying attention to the right processes so my customer always knows where we're at? Am I paying attention to the machine of the business so that the firm is staying healthy? And am I communicating really well? Those are all the things I owe to be towards excellence. But those are when life's at its best and when work's at its best, this filter is being satisfied. All right. And if you see my work points at stakeholders or the community I want to serve, right? Or the impact I want to have. So I can impact a client's life, I can impact peers' life, and I can impact owners and partners' lives. This learning path says, hey, whenever someone says, hey, I'd like to do this with my life, one thing I'm always saying is, have you looked at the learning path to be excellent at this? You don't want to just do it. You don't want to just play on a team. You want to be great on a team, right? Or you want your impact to be felt. The learning path says, if I do these things, I'll be better at serving my client. I'll be better at understanding what my peers are needing, and I'll be better at understanding what's healthy to deliver that. If I do those things, I've created the standard. I've played at the standard. I get to play forever. Mm-hmm. You should not take me off the field. That's your inefficiency. So what we point out over here is just, so what is in that learning path? What makes a lawyer get great? What allows a lawyer to go from associate to senior associate to partner to board member, right? What allows a client to say, wow, my lawyer has leveled up, or I want this level of lawyer, the one that bills at 400, 300, 250. What's going on there? And what we're pointing to is love the learning path, right? So I always said, hey, I'd love to be a dentist, right? They don't work on Friday, they're out of there before, they work their tails off, but I don't want to go to dental school. So the learning path to excellence doesn't fit me. So move to the next thing.
Good point to come in here is both things, right? We're talking about business and we're talking about the practice, right? All of them require just one thing, just reps, right? Just practicing the things that I think that if we can get in a place where we're just practicing the mindset of being excellent at something, practicing the mindset of being excellent at something, and then actually taking action to practice them, right? See one, do one, teach one. So when I think about these things, to me, what are the actionable items of how to get better at this side and then how to get better at this side? I think a lot of it is just practice.
Remember last week when we were looking at the process of performance?
Yep.
And it just said, hey, I'm in a role. The company grew, created a need that the capacity for these needs has been filled, that nobody can handle these. We're going to hire.
Right.
Or we're going to grow from one lawyer to two lawyers because we want this machine to double.
Right.
We got the unit level economics right. We're going to double that up. Oh, we're going to do it. We're going to get 3 lawyers. We're going to triple it up. We like that, right? But so that is one way to do that. But what we've said in your own roles, last week, if you looked again, you got a role. That role has priorities to deliver. It lines up with goals that you have for yourself and for the firm and for your clients, right?
Yep.
And then you go about and act on that. And those are the reps I think you're talking about. But those are calculated reps, right? So it's not just that I'm putting in an effort and it's not getting me what I need.
Right.
Those are thoughtful, that path has been laid out, the priorities line up, the goals line up, the measurables line up, and then I deliver. Well, now you get to dictate playing time. You get to stay.
Yeah,
right?
you do. And I think, and it's also good to think about when you think about expansion, right? Everyone wants to grow. Everyone's talking about growing. And if you're billing at 80%, right, do you think that you're in a place to grow? Because if you grow and you're just going to add in 2 more people that are going to be billing at 80%, then all you've done is allowed the business to sustain without any profits. That's what these numbers show.
So
you're just a lot busier making no money. That's right. You're growing because it looks good, but the money that comes in as a result of the growth and the added expenses and all of those things, they have to be paired with effective transfers, or the business side of the practice has to be dialed in. Even at 90%, the difference in something like if you're doing $15 to $18 million, a change in 10% is $1.5 million. That's significant. And a difference of from 90 to 80 is baseline.
Yeah.
Even.
Yep.
You can grow and still make nothing.
You can.
That's the reality.
Right? So it's
down on the mess.
Right. So the first thing is clean it up, create a culture where everyone understands that this health is what allows them to continue to work, to do great things, to grow, to take classes, to move along their learning path.
That's right.
And this is what actually sustains us.
Yeah, the billing and transfer is what it does. And then if you do things in a backwards way and say, okay, it's going to be at 80% here, right? I'm going to be at 80 and I'm okay with that, right? The only way that you can increase these numbers now is by impacting the cost to the client.
That's a lever,
right?
yep.
The cost to the lawyer, the amount of time that is invested. Maybe you increase the hours if people aren't doing that. It doesn't make you really popular in your firm, right?
Changes culture.
That's right. And it goes back to over here. If we're increasing hours or increasing the hourly rate to make up for a deficiency in our admin, right?
Yeah.
What kind of culture does that create? Is that blame? Is that laziness? Is that not addressing the issues that are actually the real problem? And then you're impacting culture when you should be impacting actions.
Yes. Can I add to one more of that?
Of course.
So another contributing factor here is that let's say you did what you did and we tripled this down. We hired 3 more lawyers, or this was a location, we hired 3 more locations.
Yep.
We increased the mess without the efficiencies. Our own lawyers see us triple the size of our revenues. They
Yeah.
don't realize it's a mess behind that. We're
That's
not
right.
making any money.
Yeah.
Then they start to believe, hey, I haven't seen my life improve in a while. I'm not getting new resources to get new clients.
Yeah.
Not having my team isn't expanding. It might be contracting actually.
Yeah. How is that
But
possible?
you're growing, so you must not value me.
Right.
And again, that comes off and has impact on our culture.
100%. And it's like, at what point, COVID, I was over communicative. I would let everybody know the number of leads we had, the bounce rate of the website, anything to over communicate to give people a sense of stability and calm, right? It's not something that you always want to be talking about as your transfer rate.
That's right.
It's just want to be you don't want to be talking about it so much in that, not the norm. The norm should be our standard. What's our standard? And then who drops below that? And how do you help people raise up to the standard that we've already created as part of our culture?
Yeah, step in there, listen generously.
Yeah.
Are we getting there? What's happening? Is it capacity? Do I take responsibility for that? What do you take responsibility for? Let's go again.
Yeah.
Agree to what we're doing?
Yeah.
Go again.
Yeah, you have another run, go out again.
Yeah.
And you keep doing it, and you hit your hours, you do your numbers, you provide good service, like when you are going to be asking for raises, right?
Yeah, you're
When-
creating your own yes in the raise.
You are, because you're doing the business side and you're doing the performance side. And if you can handle that, then everyone should just pretty much leave you alone and let you be a leader.
It's how you get yourself to be an entrepreneur inside a business. It's how you get the autonomy to deliver. It's by understanding what needs to be delivered based on how the company has laid it out and communicated it.
Yeah.
And in the law practice part, we get to do the part that's most impactful, which is do great law for your clients.
Yeah.
This, you can't have one without the other.
No, because if you have this and not this, you don't have a business with really good intentions.
And you're not
Stable. People are going to leave, even if you have like a great culture. If you have a small business, it's easy to create a culture. If you have a larger business, the more it expands, the more it changes, the more it evolves and it morphs into something else. And people that are left behind get sloughed off, right? They're not following it. You also want people to follow you. If you're going into hurricane chaos on chaos all the time, that becomes the culture, which started because of the transfers.
Yeah.
Brutal.
As the healthier you get, the more resources you should be squeezing out.
Yeah.
Then when we see growth, the lives of the stakeholders should improve.
Yes.
It's not one person gets the improvement. Hey, we've all worked hard, we grew, high five, we grew. What's that mean to me?
That's right.
So the clients should be serviced better. Our peers and the people running the business doing this, growth, their lives should be enhanced one way or another. And the owners are they're being enhanced one way or the other. So it is stakeholders theory. It's making
Everyone
sure
wins.
that everybody, that we're advancing the lives of all of our stakeholders.
Well, it's really the takeaway too for me is like, this is what happens when you to grow, right? When you're growing without stability, all you're doing is just copying an unstable product and service.
That's all. But I will say this, as an entrepreneur, and you don't have much to do until you create something big and beautiful enough to fix.
That's right.
So if I could only create $100,000 in billing, you don't have to come in and fix that. I'm not going to make much out of that.
Yeah.
If I created this big, beautiful mess in the beginning, I'm like, look, we have all this revenue. I can't find the efficiency. I can't find the profit.
That's right.
We haven't built into our culture that people care about this. That can be fixed. So if you've done that and you've got volume, then just jump on it now, because you don't want to give away that advantage of that volume you're bringing in, but you also want your people to benefit from that that's the hard part.
Yeah.
So how do I make $5 million beautifully efficient? How do I pull more money out of $5 million worth of a thing, not just create a mess? Yep.
Yeah, it's in two different places, right? It's going to be the clients coming in, intakes,
Yeah.
right? And money generated, that's your performance. And so that's not just your performance of practicing law, it's the performance of the business. In that we're at 80%, we want to be at 100%. If we're at 100%, we all win,
Yeah.
right?
Do you think it's easier to go from make the inside of turning 80 to 100%, which is billing efficiently, on time, over trying to grow your business a different way, 80%, 20%, from 80 to 100%? You know, it's easier than trying to get 20% more customers.
That's interesting. I think I don't even think of it like that, because both have to be fixed, right? So only focus on one, then you're going to back to the other one anyway. It's time with sales performance. Are you doing the job? Are you providing the service? Are you billing? Are you accurate? Are you providing a service for the client and a service to the business, right? If you're able to do those things, then more should be coming in, right? And the more that you do this well, this side should be increasing in organic calls. The better you are over here, the more you will have over here. And if that's not the case, then you have a messaging problem, you have a marketing problem, all these different pieces that you can look and say, oh, this is where the leakage is, this is how I fill the gap.
That's
right?
it. And then identifying where leakage is step number one.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't make us weak
No,
or bad at our jobs.
no.
It makes smart at our jobs to identify that, because those things are going to happen to any business.
Well, and they're usually in one of two places, right? Well, it's going to be a leakage in the service, and then your reputation goes down, and
Yep.
so do the
Can't be
reviews,
there. Yep.
right? So you can't be there. It's going to be in the clients coming in and the service of the clients in the business. Those are your two leakage points, right? As long as you have performance in the middle that's providing the service, this is the admin piece that's really important, right? And they go hand in hand. If you have tons of cases coming in and you're still at 80%, you just paid for more cases to come in, it's the same revenue, right? If you have less number coming in, but you're doing 100, you're actually spending less, making more. So you find that sweet spot.
Yep.
If you can find that sweet spot, that's what we're looking for as a business owner. And then you're just trying to stack on top of that and be stable.
Yep, that's right.
That's good stuff.
Yep. When you look at this is the build out of a single lawyer, the economics of a single lawyer. But
Yep.
in a firm, you could have two business units, right? You could have DR, you could have civil.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, somebody might have M&A, someone else might have probate, right?
Sure.
So you get to build and decide what's best for you. But this system fits. Inside of civil, there might be 3 lawyers. So we just draw this out, right? Script
Yeah.
this out, make this happen. Then you just, over to another unit, and all of a sudden you've laid your whole firm out like this.
Yeah.
And now you know where to point to find and to clean it all up.
That's it. I mean, if you do that and you can focus and get in like that, you're going to see your numbers, and then you're going to be able to have more input on where the leakage is. If it's going to
Yep.
be in intakes, then you're going to, we're optimizing efficiencies and workflows, right? The point being is that if there's more streamlined communication with the clients, then there's going to be more time to be one-on-one with clients, with humans, right? And if you're doing that in the then you still have two performances, one to the client and one to the firm, right? The firm requires that you do excellent work and you track and transfer, right?
Yeah.
The amount required for your employment. If you do those things, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the 80% and 100% of 30 hours is 80% to 100 is 6 hours. 6 a week. Three other, to
Yeah.
me, that seems significant, right? 30 hours at 100% transfer is a significant step that.
Yeah.
That's good.
And it's one that we should be able to accept.
Yeah.
What you owe, understanding this part, and then not being bothered that there's a capitalistic side to servicing human beings.
And if you think about it in a different way, if you're transferring 80, you're staying alive and that's it, right?
Yeah.
There's no there.
And then if you look over at your team, what does that have on your team? What impact does that have on culture?
Yeah, I
Right.
mean, all of this stuff. But if you're at 80, everyone's just working harder for the same amount.
Yeah.
That's brutal.
Concept that we used to share in our locker room would be a thought was they wanted to think about help the win, help a teammate.
Yeah.
Right? We clients at that point, right? So
Sure.
help a win and help a teammate. So can we this game have an impact, help the win, and be a good teammate, add to the culture of the team, right?
Yeah.
In today's age, we need knowledge transfer from experienced lawyers to young lawyers. Every business has experienced people and less experienced people.
Yeah.
But we have the added challenge of flexible working.
Yeah.
So sometimes you can work from home. Sometimes you have to be in the office. Sometimes there's a combo.
Yeah.
It creates a challenge in my learning path over here to be awesome for younger lawyers, right? And we have a real responsibility to grow our players. Like you have an effective team when somebody's going from associate to senior associate, right? They're growing their roles.
Yeah.
And that means they're getting better. Our clients are getting service better.
Yeah.
Right? And every team, you'd love when the third line player gets to the second line.
Yep.
It have a development process and a culture that than just the stars say.
Yeah.
Right? Or the owners in a situation like this. So in the learning path, here's what I wanted to point out there. You, as a veteran professional in anything, but we're talking law, you owe teaching younger lawyers. If that means you have to go into the office and you normally wouldn't, you said that you've earned the right to not have to. You owe going in at some point and transferring that to a teammate. You got to help the team. The team get better.
It's so hard now too, because after COVID and hybrid, work, so it's being able to work from home, right?
Yeah.
The downside is that the benefit is usually individual. It's not for the team. And so there's got to be this balance or this, find the ground or that workflow where you're still getting the benefit of being a high performer and working how you wish.
Yeah.
And also back and making sure that you're transferring that knowledge, like you said.
Yeah. So there's a flip side of this too. Growth, development, and learning is a two-sided commitment. So one, we just talked about having somebody that's a veteran with the experience, passing that down to someone else.
Right.
But now I like to, because we are both in classrooms with students going out that are stepping into the world, right? You at Boulder and me at the University of Denver. We have it's also the younger professionals' responsibility to pull that learning in and to make that learning efficient and make that passing of the learning as easy as possible for a veteran. Yep. Right? So I can't be difficult to find. Yeah. I have to go in prepared to know, hey, I'd like to learn these 3 things. Yep. I have to pull feedback. I have to pull that learning in, and I have to design that learning myself. That is not the veteran person's job to design that learning for me. When they do it, we've all benefited from this at times, when someone's really good at that. And we're like, I can't believe it. I had this mentor in life that did this for me. And we're either the benefit of that or we are the victims of never having that. Yeah. Right? In the world, to kill the victim part of that, you have to be really good at trying to pull in that learning. Raise your hand on your spots.
That's a skill set, too.
Yes, right? Yeah. Others to teach you your blind spots and then design the exact questions to get to learning.
And that sounds like it all is part of a culture and an environment, right? Yep. And so those are the things that you can really control the controllables, but make sure that you're actually controlling them and the proof is shown every day. If you can do both, then that's a sustainable culture. Otherwise, it's one we just want the best and it's kumbaya and hope for the best, right?
Or sometimes we go to work and hope for the best. Right?
I hope that I'm having an impact.
I hope I'm having an impact. I hope that I'm service my clients. I'm like control them.
Yeah.
Right? You're building something healthy if you're doing these things.
That's
right?
it.
If your clients are writing reviews and getting good outcomes, you are doing something healthy. Now, the acknowledgement isn't part of a culture. Yeah. But I being able to get in my car and drive home at the end of the day and say, I know I had a good week.
And you know what? And I did my jobs. I did it to myself, to my client, and to the business.
And that autonomy is another, but it's a well-earned reward for us. And we all like to feel that. And that is you being an entrepreneur at work, and it just takes this.
It's good stuff, man.
Yep.
Good week.
Good week.
All right, thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week. Have a good spring break. We aren't going to be here next week. We're going to take it off because it's spring break. And we'll be back the following every Thursday. Todd and Phil on Ask Anything Thursdays. Have a good week.